Caroline Leavitt stepped out of the sleek black SUV like she owned the pavement beneath her feet. Her heels clicked crisply against the driveway outside the Harbor Front Grand in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. The early spring wind tugged at her coat as if daring her to waver. She didn't. She simply adjusted the tote on her shoulder and glanced up at the hotel entrance. She checked her watch. Right on time. Inside, the lobby was serene. Warm lighting glinted off polished floors. A crackling fireplace glowed to the left. Guests sipped coffee, their travel bags resting nearby. It was peaceful, just the way she liked it. She approached the front desk, her smile polite but direct. Behind the counter stood a young woman, mid-20s maybe, with a sharp auburn pixie cut, chipped black nail polish, and a nose ring that caught the light just so. She looked up, met Caroline's eyes, and something flickered. Not quite recognition, not quite surprise. Then came the smirk. "Hi, checking in?" she said with a flat tone, fingers unmoving from the desk. Caroline stayed composed. "Yes, Caroline Leavitt. Reservation should be under that name." She gently placed her ID and credit card on the counter. The receptionist picked up the ID slowly. Her gaze landed on the name, then flicked back up to Caroline. A moment passed. "Oh, you're that Caroline Leavitt," she murmured, just loud enough for a few heads to turn. "Smash that like button if you've ever walked into a room and been judged before you even spoke." Caroline didn't flinch. "Is there an issue?" she asked, her voice calm and steady. The woman's fingers tapped lazily at the keyboard. "Just didn't expect someone like you to stay here, that's all." A snort escaped her lips, as if she'd told herself a private joke. Caroline didn't respond. Not yet. Behind her, a couple in fleece jackets waited their turn. The man looked irritated. The woman raised an eyebrow, silently questioning. Did she really just say that? The receptionist continued clicking, slowly, as if in no rush. She said finally. "Looks like your room isn't ready yet." Caroline glanced at her watch again. "It's 4:05. Your website says check-in starts at 3. "Yeah, sometimes housekeeping runs behind," the receptionist said, still avoiding eye contact. "Maybe grab a coffee or something. I'll text you when it's ready." Caroline took a slow, intentional breath. "Would you mind double-checking, please? I'm here for an event this evening and really need to get settled." There was a brief pause. A flicker of hesitation in the woman's expression. For a second it looked like she might actually reconsider. But then that smirk returned. "I'll check again," she said, her voice coated in mock sweetness, overpronouncing each word like a preschool teacher addressing a toddler. "Tap subscribe if you've ever seen someone weaponize customer service." Behind Caroline, the couple exchanged a glance. Near the fireplace, another guest subtly lifted her phone, angled it toward the desk. Not flashy, not aggressive, just prepared. The receptionist smiled thinly. "I'm sure you understand. We just have certain standards here. Can't always accommodate everyone right away." Caroline locked eyes with her. Not angry, not cold, just still. "I'm a guest. I've booked, confirmed, and arrived on time. That should be all that matters." Silence. The room hadn't gone quiet, but the temperature had changed. The energy shifted. More people were noticing. Caroline didn't argue. She simply stepped aside calmly. "I'll be over there," she said, pointing to the leather chairs by the window. She sat, took out her phone, and opened her weather app. No calls, no social media. Just stillness. And that was the most powerful thing in the room. The message was loud, even though she hadn't raised her voice. She wasn't rattled. She wasn't playing into a narrative. She simply wanted to be treated with the same decency as any other guest. But the whispering started. Not loud, not chaotic, just that low buzz that fills the air when people feel a wrong has been done. The couple that had been in line stepped to the side. The woman folded her arms. She wasn't even subtle about it. She muttered. You heard the tone. She wanted to humiliate her. The man shook his head. Doesn't matter who she is. That was unprofessional. Meanwhile, across the room, the woman near the fireplace, who had recorded part of the exchange, sat beside a friend. The phone was now face down in her lap, thumb hovering just above the screen. Should I post it? She whispered. Her friend hesitated. I mean, she didn't scream or anything. But yeah, it felt off. You could feel it. The first woman nodded. She tried to humiliate her. And that was enough. Hit the like button if you've ever watched karma gather strength in real time. Back at the front desk, the receptionist's name tag read Rowan Bixby. She was all smiles again now, sugary and warm, as she checked in the next guests, the very same couple who'd watched her earlier. Welcome to the Harborfront Grand, she chirped, tone dramatically perkier. The couple glanced at Caroline, still seated calmly near the window, scrolling on her phone. She's just acting like nothing happened, the woman whispered. It's all on video, her friend replied. If you feel like it needs to be seen, post it. This isn't about sides, it's about respect. And so the video, just 23 seconds long, went live. Captioned, This happened today at the Harborfront Grand. Professionalism matters. It started with a trickle, maybe 24 views in 20 minutes. Nothing viral. But someone retweeted it with a simple caption. Doesn't matter who the guest is, this is just wrong. That was the spark. And the wind was coming. By evening, the video had crossed 10,000 views. No dramatic music, no editing, just raw, quiet footage of a receptionist being casually cruel, and a guest refusing to take the bait. It started appearing in group chats, then local forums, then on the Twitter page of a regional reporter who wrote, Not the first time I've heard complaints about this hotel. That's when it exploded. Still, Caroline hadn't said a word. No tweets, no quotes, no commentary. She finally checked into her room around 5:40 p.m. A different front desk clerk, flustered and apologetic, handed over her key without meeting her eyes. Enjoy your stay, ma'am, he said quickly, shame flickering behind the practiced smile. Caroline simply nodded. No rant, no drama, just composure. She went straight to her room, called her husband, unpacked her dress for the evening event, and moved on. Meanwhile, downstairs, the storm was brewing. Like this story so far? Hit that like button. It's about to get even more intense. Rowan, still working her shift, had no idea her smirk was trending. But she could feel something had changed. Her co-workers were whispering. Her manager, Calvin Rohr, kept glancing out of his office with a frown. Still, Rowan brushed it off. Maybe someone complained. Probably that couple from earlier. She didn't care. In her mind, she'd done what needed to be done. People like Caroline Leavitt didn't deserve to float through life unchecked. That was her logic. Until 10:03 p.m., her phone buzzed. A text from Melanie, her best friend. Girl, are you going viral? Rowan frowned. What? Then Melanie sent the link. Rowan tapped it. And there she was. Her voice, her face, her attitude. All captured in 23 seconds of quiet, slow-burning humiliation. No captions needed, no spin required. It spoke for itself. Engage with a comment if you've ever seen someone realize. The internet never forgets. Her blood ran cold. Her fingers shook. She texted Melanie in a panic. Did you post this? No, Melanie replied. Burner account. But it's spreading. Fast. People are heated. Heated was an understatement. By midnight, the video had 300,000 views. Influencers were reposting it. News outlets picked it up with headlines like, Hotel employee confronts guest during check-in. Guest responds with grace. But here's what caught everyone off guard. The reactions, they weren't political. Sure, a few voices tried to make it about ideology, but most people on both sides were just shocked. Shocked at the tone, shocked at the treatment, shocked that someone would behave this way, in a professional setting. "I don't care who she is," one commenter wrote. "This is customer service 101. You treat people with respect." Another chimed in. "Imagine being judged the moment you walk up to the desk. That's just gross." Even Caroline's critics couldn't deny it. She hadn't lost her temper, hadn't demanded anything. She just stood her ground and walked away. And somehow, that made the silence even louder. By sunrise, the video had reached 500,000 views. Rowan hadn't slept. She deleted her Instagram, locked her Twitter. But it was too late. Her name had already been found. Someone linked her LinkedIn profile in the comments. Then it spread faster than she could keep up. The phone at the front desk rang non-stop. Guests, reporters, strangers, all asking the same question. "Does that girl still work there?" Upstairs, Calvin, the manager, stared at his monitor in disbelief. The video played in loop, Rowan's smirk frozen on screen, dissected by the public. His inbox was on fire. Corporate had sent damage control templates. His district manager was calling in 20 minutes. He rubbed his temples. This wasn't a complaint. This was a wildfire. Like, comment and share, if you've ever seen accountability unfold in real time. Rowan didn't show up for her shift. Calvin didn't expect her to. Still, he called her cell. Straight to voicemail. He didn't leave a message. At the hotel, the mood was strange. Guests walked in quietly, looking around like they expected something dramatic to happen again. Some even took photos of the front desk, whispering. The staff kept their heads down. Everyone was thinking the same thing. This had gone national. At 10:15 a.m., Rowan finally walked through the employee entrance. Hoodie pulled low, sunglasses on, hair tucked away. She looked like someone trying not to be recognized, which of course made her more recognizable. Calvin met her halfway down the service hallway. His voice was firm. "Office. Now." She didn't say a word. She followed him in, arms crossed, already bracing for the fight. But Calvin didn't ease in. "You knew it was wrong, even if you didn't agree with her politics. This was about how you represented this hotel. And you embarrassed us." Rowan's voice cracked with frustration. "She's dangerous. People like her." "Stop," Calvin cut her off. "This isn't about your opinion. It's about your job. You were supposed to check in a guest and treat her like any other guest. You made it personal. Subscribe now if you believe how you carry yourself matters more than what you believe." Rowan scoffed. "So that's it? You're firing me because a video made people uncomfortable?" Calvin's tone softened, but only slightly. "I'm letting you go because you were unprofessional. On camera, in uniform, while representing this brand. Politics has nothing to do with it. You could have done that to anyone. We'd still be here." Rowan clenched her jaw. She wanted to argue, to defend herself. But the words didn't come. Somewhere deep down, she knew he was right. She'd always prided herself on speaking her mind, on calling it like it is. But this wasn't activism. It was pettiness, and it had cost her everything. "You'll be paid through the end of the week," Calvin said. "Your exit paperwork will be mailed." Rowan didn't say goodbye. She didn't storm out. She simply left, through the side door, head low. Outside, her phone buzzed again. A message from an old classmate. "Saw the video. Damn. Hope you're okay." She didn't respond. She just kept walking. Inside the hotel, Calvin sat in his office watching the muted morning news. The clip was already being played on loop. No commentary needed, just the footage of Rowan, her smirk, her sarcasm, and Caroline's calm refusal to engage. One anchor on a national morning show summed it up best. The real issue here isn't who the guest was. It's the reminder that we've lost the art of basic decency. That line stuck with him. Upstairs, housekeeping reset room 414. Caroline's room, no mess, no damage, nothing unusual, just a folded brochure from the charity event she attended. And on the pillow, a handwritten note. Thank you for your hard work. With appreciation, CL. The chaos outside that door felt a world away. If you believe kindness still matters, even when no one's watching, drop a like right now. Outside the hotel, the conversation wasn't dying. It was evolving. By the next afternoon, national commentators were calling it the Harbor Front Incident. Not because of the guest involved, but because of what it revealed. This wasn't just a viral clip. It was a mirror. A reflection of how far people are willing to go when their beliefs blur into bias. The headlines weren't about politics. They were about professionalism, about boundaries, about the price of public behavior. And still, Caroline had said almost nothing. Just one composed tweet. I checked in quietly like anyone else. What happened speaks for itself. I wish her well. No hashtags, no jabs, no campaign slogans, just grace. And that silence? It said everything. Replies poured in. Some praised her restraint. Others claimed it was PR. But one thing was clear. This wasn't about ideology anymore. It was about how we treat people in everyday moments. Talk radio, Twitter threads, group chats, everywhere, people were asking the same question. Where do we draw the line? One comment read, if you work in service, your job is to serve, not judge. Another fired back, so we're supposed to smile and help people who threaten our rights? But in the middle of all the noise, one post stood out. It's not about being right. It's about being kind. You don't have to like someone to treat them with respect. That post was shared thousands of times because it said what everyone was feeling, and it hit deep. Subscribe if you believe there's still value in listening, especially when it's hard. Rowan was living in the fallout. Her social media accounts? Deleted. Her inbox? Flooded with messages, some cruel, some concerned, all overwhelming. Her cousin posted a defense on Facebook. Rowan isn't a bad person. She's emotional. She believes in what's right. Maybe she went too far, but she's not evil. Screenshots flew. Opinions clashed. More fire. But beneath the noise, Rowan was unraveling. She had applied to 3 jobs. No callbacks. One interviewer had asked her gently, anything online we should know about? She'd lied. Nothing significant. But she knew the moment his eyes dropped to the desk that it was over. Back home, blinds drawn, she avoided going out. People stared, whispered. One man at the grocery store simply said, "You really thought that was a good idea?" No drama, no yelling, just disappointment. And that stung the most. That night, Rowan sat on her bed, scrolling through the comments she swore she wouldn't read again. One line stopped her. We all have opinions, but it's what you do when you're on the clock that shows your character. She read it again, and again. Saved it. Closed the app. Meanwhile, Caroline was back on the road. 2 appearances, one in Pennsylvania, one in Vermont. At both, people mentioned what had happened in Portsmouth. Not with drama, just quiet concern. It was wrong what she did, one older woman said, gripping Caroline's hand gently. You didn't deserve that. No one does. Caroline thanked her. She didn't want to make it political, but inside she thought about it constantly. It wasn't about the insult. It was about what it revealed. As she told a colleague during a drive, it wasn't about me, it was about someone deciding I didn't deserve basic respect. And that worries me. It wasn't anger, it was something deeper. Worry, for a world where decency was no longer a given. If this story made you feel something, hit subscribe, because stories like these matter. Elsewhere, people kept talking, not just online, in homes, classrooms, churches, cafes. People were thinking twice about how they speak to baristas, how they treat strangers, how one moment of cruelty could now be captured and played back forever. And slowly, the story shifted from scandal to lesson. By the following week, the media had moved on. New headlines, new debates. But the people involved? They were still living in the aftershocks. At a small kitchen table in Dover, Rowan sat across from her mother picking at scrambled eggs. Neither of them said much until her mother finally spoke. "You used to say you wanted to make the world better," she said softly. "I believe you still do. But this wasn't the way." Rowan didn't argue. She just nodded. Barely. "I thought if I stayed quiet I'd feel like a coward," she whispered. "And if I spoke, I'd be the villain. I don't know where the middle is anymore." Her mother reached across the table, touching her hand gently. "The middle is where most of us live. It's not loud, but it's where people actually listen." Across the state, Caroline stood backstage at a charity dinner. The light beyond the curtain was golden and soft. Voices murmured, glasses clinked. Her assistant handed her some note cards. She didn't need them. She looked down at her hands, then up at the curtain. "You know what bothered me most?" she said quietly to her assistant. "What?" She didn't see me, just a headline. A caricature, not a person. Her assistant nodded. "That's how people stop talking to each other." Caroline didn't reply. She stepped onto the stage, smiled, and gave a speech that mentioned the incident, briefly, acknowledged it, didn't escalate it. She modeled something rare, restraint, that quiet power that doesn't need to prove anything. Just be. If this story reminded you how important grace is, like, comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. In the end, there was no grand redemption arc for Rowan. No exclusive interview. Just reflection, stillness, and a slow rebuilding. A week later, she applied for a receptionist job at a vet clinic outside town. Small place, different vibe. During the interview, the hiring manager, an older woman in sneakers and denim, looked her straight in the eye. "I've seen what happened," she said. "I don't need the whole story. Just tell me one thing. What did you learn?" Rowan hesitated, then said the first honest thing in a long time. "I forgot people aren't the worst version of their headlines, and I let my pride get louder than my purpose." The woman gave a small smile. "You start Monday." Not because she earned it, but because she owned it. And sometimes that's enough. Caroline moved on. So did the media. But something lingered in the hearts of those who watched. Not outrage, not partisanship. Just a question. How do I treat people when no one's clapping? This wasn't a story about politics. It was about character. About what happens when someone forgets that being right never justifies being cruel. And what happens when someone responds to disrespect with poise and nothing more. It was a reminder that the quietest voices often say the most. So the next time you stand behind a counter, or wait in line, or talk to someone you disagree with, remember, every moment is a choice. To divide or to dignify, to escalate or to elevate. And when the world expects noise, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay calm. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the word.